Hey, everybody, it's Lisa Copeland, and I want to welcome you to the Art of the Big Sell. And I am so excited about my guest today. And he and I have known of each other forever, I think, because I think we've both been around forever. But we really got to know each other recently at the Digital Dealer Conference that he was the fantastic, amazing MC for last week in Orlando. And Frank's got a very big background in the automotive industry. He's also got a huge following in the automotive industry. And that's why I thought he was the perfect guest for the Art of the Big Sell, because it's all about building a movement within your space. So that's why I bring the leading authorities in the country on when it comes to how do you handle your personal branding, the branding of your business, maybe even the branding of your movement. So Frank, welcome to the Art of the Big Sell.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Especially after that build-up, I have to make sure to thank my mom for sending you the memo of what to say. And and you just set up some pretty big shoes I got to put my feet into here. So
Well, don't all of us need more Frank?
Everybody needs to get more Frank.
Everybody needs to get more Frank. Now we have to promise we're not going to talk about mine and Subi's karaoke in Orlando last week.
No.
It was not one of our finer moments.
It was
free cocktails, for God's sakes. They had the blue bands on. They just kept bringing me a Mexican martini. That's very dangerous.
I don't know what happened that night. I wasn't, I am sorry, but I don't recall that.
And if you do, we're not talking about it. So Frank, I've followed you for years in the industry, and you're yourself, you have a big following, but of course, you're an expert when it comes to branding and marketing, and you're the vice president of a large, I was about to say insurance, good Lord, a large advertising agency that specializes in the automotive industry. Some of my very good friends, Alex Flores with Capital Chevrolet and Chris Martinez with Charles Mond, who of course is the #1 Toyota store. And I better say Alex is the #1 Chevy store.
Yeah, you better put that in there.
That's right. I don't want to start any turf wars here. And both of them just think the world of you, and they are clients of yours. So obviously you're doing something right. Tell us about your business.
Well, my business is very, very simple and very complex at the same time, right? So very simple, meaning that our focus is very, very heavy in automotive. And that's our background. We've been an automotive agency for over 24 years, almost 25 years now. Started out as traditional and then made the switch many years ago into digital as we saw, obviously as culture was changing. I can't say that I saw this upcoming thing or something like that. That would be absolutely ridiculous to say because it was culture. It was happening around us. Anybody who didn't see it, you were either ignorant or blind, one or the other, and you just didn't adjust. But we're not the same. Everybody says, oh, well, I'm not the same as everybody else. It's a little bit different for us because we're extremely service-based, meaning that, the relationship that we have with our dealers is it's the most important thing that we have. And that we realize that the more that we can service a dealer and the more things that we can take off a dealer's plate and handle for them, the more benefit we are to them and the more benefit the dealer gets out of the whole relationship, because then they can focus more time on the most important thing to them, which is running their dealership, right? Like Lisa, firsthand, running a dealership is an 80-hour a week job if you work part-time.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're a part-timer at it, you're putting in 80 hours. But, if not, if you're doing it and you're doing it the right way, you are 100% immersed in it. Right? Because it becomes you, it becomes your culture, it becomes your being. That's it. So as things are constantly evolving in marketing and just in culture itself, like look at these things, right? Like what the hell is this? 10 years ago, this thing didn't even, 10 years ago, this thing didn't even exist.
Okay. So hold on one second. Turn that thing back around. What is did you sign the back of your telephone?
No, I didn't sign the back of my telephone.
There you go.
It's my hashtag on here, and I'm going to be the first one to say, not an original idea. I saw a friend of mine, Gary Vaynerchuk, had held up his phone one day in front of me, and it had his signature on the back of it, and his signature is also a part of his branding.
Mine has pink sparkles. So
Yeah, yours has sparkles and bedazzled on it. But
yes.
I totally 100% stole the idea from him.
Okay, so I am glad you have brought up Gary Vee, because
Hmm.
that's really what I wanted to talk to you about. You and I spoke earlier, but that you and I are both seeing this whole phenomena. And I think it's happening in every industry. But let's talk about where you and I know the best, and that's the automotive industry.
Right.
It seems like our mutual friend, Mr. Cardone, started something about 7 or 8 years ago. He went out and he built a personal brand. And
Hmm.
it wasn't just about what he knew in business, because obviously he has been very successful. But he built I don't even want to say almost, he has built a cult following. And then we see, Gary Vee on the scene. And I can't tell you who came first, but I knew Grant way before I knew Gary Vee.
Right.
But so, and then you kind of see this phenomena. And now we see these people on Facebook. And of course, you and I spoke about our friend Sean Hayes, who I'm just really proud of him. I just think he's just got a really cool thing working. And, and there's other people that have gone out and done it also. Let's talk about building this movement, building your own iconic brand, people that are building, cult brands, not for their products as much as they are for themselves. What are your
Right.
thoughts?
So a couple things. Number one, not putting down Grant in any way, shape, or form, right? But Gary Vaynerchuk has about 5 years on him. The
Oh, he
problem,
does. See,
yeah, and
I
that's
just didn't know who Gary Vee was until I had a car dealership, and all my guys were like, Gary Vee, Gary Vee.
right, and that comes because of the fact of
He's
one of the
older.
well, no, he's actually younger, but that that comes from one of the most important points, right? That's one of the most important points when you're starting off, right? Is that you got to pick your lane and you got to stay in it, right? And then
Mhm.
you have to dominate your highway. You got to dominate your lane, right?
Okay.
So if you want to rewind back to 2006, that's when Gary started Wine Library TV. That's when he started a daily show, but it wasn't on marketing and it wasn't on social media. It wasn't on anything like that. It was housed on YouTube, but it was all about wine
Right.
because, because he was in the wine industry working in his father's,
And I feel like it was
liquor
like in
store.
Queens, New York, because when I was in Queens a few weeks ago, Brian Benstock said, "Oh, that was where Gary Vee's old place was." Or
It's in Springfield, New Jersey, and the reason I know is because a lot of people don't know this. I should actually tell the story more, but I was actually Gary Vaynerchuk's advertising agency from 2004 to 2009.
yeah, you should probably tell that story a little bit more.
I tell it more now, and it's because he actually said to me, he's like, Frank, I don't know why in the world you don't talk about like our old times and stuff and leverage a lot of that into what you're doing now. Like
Yeah.
it's he goes, like it's to be honest, he's like, it's kind of stupid that you don't.
Well,
And
I mean, good for him. That's very good advice.
yeah, it's very good advice. And for the last year or two, I have been doing that more in my keynotes and in speaking at conferences and stuff. I try to bring it in because my whole thing is I don't want anybody to think I'm riding somebody's coattails. But at the same time, what Gary made me realize is that the things that I personally was exposed to and the things that I was doing with him, and at the same time watching him do, at that time, that built so much experience and so much into my own gospel and my own mantra of what I actually preach and of what I actually implement today.
Okay, so let me ask you, when did Gary Vee, because obviously, like I say, I give it to Grant and Gary Vee when it comes to just these pulp fiction, cult followings, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
What is it? When did Gary Vee, like, when do you think the light, because you were there, so like you sat in the front seat, so this is great information. When did his light go off, do you think? And he said, because I've always been weird about, like, even all these Facebook Lives. A lot of times I think, oh God, nobody wants to see me talk to these people. But then people say, oh, I'm so glad, or I heard something. And
Right. Yeah. You
so
don't realize how many people are watching, really.
I know it's almost scary, huh? So when did Gary Vee, when do you think the light went off with him where he went, dang, I got something here. People care that I'm walking down the street talking into a camera about a lot of times not about much that really matters in the world.
Right. Yeah. So there were 2 points. One, I was physically there. The other one, I wasn't. Right. So
Okay.
the first one, 2006, when he had it wasn't even really an idea, when it was almost just like a power or like a blessing or whatever you want to call it. Right. Just came out of nowhere and hit him to the point of where he's like, okay, I've got to take what I'm doing and what I'm doing here at the liquor store. Okay, what I'm doing at the liquor store and move it into a place to where I can share this information with everybody. So it came as to me, it came as a call, not on this phone, but on a cell phone. I think it was 6:30 in the morning, a call of, I got to see you today. And it was like, oh, whenever he would call and say, I got to see you today, like I learned really quick, that meant something was going to explode, like something was coming. Right. So it was like, okay, no problem. I'll see you this afternoon. So I go there and he's like, I got this, and he can't sit down. Like he's like all over the office. He's like, I got this great idea. I'm going to do a show. And I was like, what, on TV? And he's
You're going to be a movie star?
Like, on TV? And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it on TV. I'm going to do it on YouTube. And I looked at him and I was like, you mean the place where all the cat videos are? Like you're going to put a show. What the hell are you going to do a show about on YouTube? Because I'm going to do a show about wine. And I looked at him and I was now like I'm admitting a lot here, right? I looked at him and I said, Gary, ain't nobody going to watch you do a show about wine, especially on YouTube. Like you are out of your effing mind. Like, are you crazy? He goes, no, I'm not crazy. He goes, and you know what? You're going to do one too. And I was like, Gary, I don't know shit about wine. What am I going to do a show about? No. You don't know nothing about wine. You can't do that. But you can do a show about marketing, or you can do a show about car dealers. You know all about that, right? And I said, ain't nobody going to want to watch me do a show about wine. And ain't nobody going to want to watch you do a show about wine. And ain't nobody going to want to watch me do a show about car dealers or sales or marketing or anything like that.
How wrong you were, my friend.
One of us was right. The other one was wrong. Right. So I was 1,000% wrong. So that was the first, that was like the first wave. And that was the first movement was then. And then afterwards, when the show became, when Wine Library TV became its own like monster, so to say, and it had its own following, and somebody who writes for the Wall Street Journal saw an episode and started writing about influencers, and this is like 2009 stuff,
I mean, before the word influencer meant anything. That was almost like you're under the influence, right? Versus being an influencer.
Exactly. So, and then that turned into Ellen, and it turned into Conan O'Brien.
Seriously?
Yeah, that's it. It just started to go. And then that turned into a book deal for him. And then that turned into keynoting. And then like somewhere around, around 2011 is when it exploded, like another massive explosion. There's also one more in his story, but that's where a big massive explosion came, because he was smart enough, right, to take all of those keynotes and all of that content and put it on YouTube. And then take it and segment it and repurpose all of that content into shorter videos that he would put on Facebook. And then, fast forward a little bit, 2013, Instagram starts really taking off. What does he do? He just leverages all onto Instagram.
And let me ask you this, because you know him,
thing.
Right? He doesn't seem to have much of a filter. And so I guess he's not worried that his brand will offend anybody. I know that when I'm on stage speaking, and I've heard you speak several times, and I think we're pretty buttoned up. Like there's so many times I want to go, but you can't. But boy, he just lets it roll, and he can.
He lets it roll, and he can, and that's one of the big things is that he answers to no master. The only people that he answers to is number one, himself, and number two, the market. So if at one time the market doesn't, if the market doesn't receive his message or doesn't appreciate his message, right, then he'll adjust. Or if at any time he doesn't feel that he's doing the right thing within himself, that he's representing the right person, or he's very big on that whole self-awareness thing. right?
Right.
So if at any time he's reflecting and doesn't feel like he's putting out the best product that he knows he can do, he's going to adjust. And genuineness and everything is a big part, is a very, very big part of his message. And, that's one of the things that a lot of people on social, that honestly, that they screw up, is that they have an underlying agenda for the reason of why they even get involved in the first place or why they're out there.
Okay, so explain that to us. When you say they've got an underlying agenda.
They're trying to monetize their audience immediately.
Right.
Without building any type of value or anything like that. So when I talk about this, I use the analogy of like you have like a brand new friend, right? So you go to a cocktail party or a conference, okay? So you go to a conference and you meet somebody for the first time. You didn't even know this person existed or anything, right? And within 5 minutes, you're trying to get a demo or you're trying to sell them something or you're trying to set up you didn't do anything to build up enough value to the other person to be able to ask them for a favor, right?
Or a favor or an appointment or their business.
Yeah, or their time. Let's make it even a little bit more ridiculous, but the same type of idea, right? It's like years ago, I meet you at Digital Dealer, like, I don't know, like in the teens, right? Yeah. And I say to you, hey, Lisa, can you do me a favor? Can you come out to New Jersey next week and can you come and like dog sit for me? Because like I got to go to this thing. You're going to be like, Frank, I'm not going from Austin, Texas.
It depends on what kind of house you have and if it's close enough to the city. And
but you would look at me like I'm not going to go and walk this guy's dog every day. I just met him 3 seconds ago.
Right.
It's the exact same thing. You pop up on social and you're immediately trying to monetize, buy my course, come to my conference, come for hire me to speak, but nobody knows who you are and you don't put anything on the table. What do you think is going to happen? You're just going to get pushed into noise, and all you're going to do is add to the upcoming medical epidemic, which is going to be coming any day soon, and it's called spam thumb. You know what spam thumb is?
No, but please tell.
It's when you're on your iPhone, right? And you're going like this so much to scroll past all the spam that's on Facebook that eventually you do something medically to your thumb to where it won't scroll anymore. Or you just walk around all the time and your thumb involuntarily goes like this.
Yeah, it's something. And so I want to take you back a second because I'm not sure if I'm remembering a conversation you and I had or if you said it. You were Gary Vaynerchuk's, you were his advertising agency. You were his guy. And of course we all know.
Library, yep.
Yeah. And we all now know that, he's in the ad business, but so you were his guy when he was in the wine business. Mm-hmm. So, that's a really big deal for those, people out there. So, you saw that journey that he's taken firsthand. Now, full transparency. Again, I have to do this to anybody who's that successful. I've never really followed him very much. I feel like I've known more the Grant journey probably. Right. And I think that Gary is more out there to every field, whereas, Grant, of course, I think started in the automotive space, which is where we all sat at the time. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the automotive industry and the professionals in the auto industry are doing this more than any other industry you see? Or do you think everybody's starting to catch on to the fact that they need to walk down the street with a selfie stick and an iPhone and just talk randomly? And honestly, my agent wants me to do that. And I'm like, Hank and Steve, I'm not going to do that unless I've got something purposeful to say. I'm not going to get on just to chatter because that makes me a little nuts, but you might have a different theory about that.
I think the automotive industry, I think that I think a lot of people in it are catching on to the power that this little box has.
Yeah, Glenn Lundy. Here's a great example.
Perfect example.
He was on my show yesterday, and we talked afterwards. He and I have the same agent, To Market Media. Love. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with him because of his anti-bullying stance in the automotive industry. Anyways, he's like, Lisa, join my private group I started 4 months ago. 23,000 people. Yeah. Well, first of all, he's the kind of guy I would follow. See, I like him. He's under the radar, and I'm just giving some hints out there to some people that could be watching this. He's under the radar. He's humble. He's kind. And I think he's really a world changer in the fact that what he's saying is that I'm standing for something bigger. I have built a movement. I have declared the common enemy, which is bullies.
Right.
and I'm going to do something about it to clean it up. And so he, to me, like, I love the guy. He's super motivational to me. I think Sean Hayes, I love what he's out there doing because, it isn't like he's some big hot shot. And Sean, if you're watching, I think you're a hot shot, but you know what I mean. But he sells cars. He's pretty humble. He's like, hey, I'm a car salesman. And when I was on his show, probably a month or two ago, we talked before, and I said, Sean, I'm like, you could do anything you want to do. Why aren't you? He's like, I'm in the spot I need to be in. But what he's doing is there's hundreds and thousands of car salesmen out there that sell cars for a living, and God bless them. I started out as a car salesman. I am,
Me too. Yeah.
I love the people who go out and they're the ones in the cold and the hot, and they're moving the iron over the curb. And so, but Sean is that, and you and I talked about this before the show. I said, I'm putting my money on Hayes that he's going to be the next Cardone or something, because he knows his lane, right? He isn't trying to say I'm the biggest, baddest guru. He's like, I'm just a car salesman, and I'm going to encourage every other car salesman in this country, follow me, sales hustlers. It's brilliant. On top of the fact he's a hell of a nice guy. He does a great job on camera. So those are two that I've met that I think are just really phenomenal, because to me, they're super authentic and they really know how to play in their lane.
Right.
But then there's other people that I've seen, men, women, everything out in the middle. And it's just like, hey, look at me. I'm so cool. And to me, there's a difference. Would you talk about that?
Yeah, there's a huge difference. Let's look at Glenn. Let's look at Sean. Let's look at Gary. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's look at, I'll throw myself in that ring a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
And
you're always so humble too. You're so nice.
And you as well. Okay. All of us, remember I said before about that underlying agenda, right? What is Glenn trying to monetize? Nothing.
He's just trying to sell cars.
He's just trying to sell cars, right?
Yep.
But somebody who lives in Los Angeles, right? What's the likelihood of that person in Los Angeles buying their Silverado from a dealership that's in Paris, Kentucky? Okay, right. the percent, is there a possibility there? Yes, but the percentage is low. Okay, so obviously Glenn's not doing it to try to sell cars.
Right.
He's doing it with a heart to help people.
Yes, I agree with that.
Why is Sean doing it? Sean's doing it because he's been because he's spent his time on the floor. He has taken his ups. He's taken his hits. He's taken his kick in the teeth, right?
But I will tell you, I know that Sean does a lot of business. And hey, and that's 1,000,000% okay, a gazillion percent okay if he uses it to sell cars. But the other movement that he's building is that he's encouraging other salespeople. So it isn't even like he's trying to say, hey, I'm trying to reach up. He's like, man, this is where I'm at. And I'm going to build a movement of the guys who really make stuff happen in the automotive industry. And that is the men and women who are on that sales floor.
Right. And that's my point. We all need to make money. Okay. All of us have mortgages. We all have bills. We all like clothes. We all need to eat. Right. So all of us need to make money. But at the same time, there's a different way of making money right now. When you make money as a byproduct of what your movement is, and when your movement is pure, when I say pure, when your movement comes from a place where monetary is a byproduct, the money comes from doing the right thing. The money does not come from whatever that action is, because then it's transactional. That's not a movement. That's not a movement. That's just a transaction.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, so what you're saying at that point, if it's purely 100% to monetize, and that's okay, right? It isn't a movement. It's just the way that you market your business.
Look at look at your store. Your store was the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Okay. #1 Fiat store in the country.
Yeah.
Okay?
I was the tallest midget for sure.
You were the tallest midget. Okay. But hey, it's a lot harder to be, I don't care what anybody says. It's a lot harder to be the #1 Mitsubishi dealer, the #1 Fiat dealer, than it is. It's hard to be the #1 Toyota dealer too, but when you have, you got a little momentum from the.
Okay, can I just say, I want to try that #1 Toyota dealer thing. Seriously.
You want to give it a shot? I know where you could do it.
Yeah. I would like to be the #1 Toyota dealer. I'd like to be my good friend Ben Stock when I grow up, and be that #1 Honda dealer in the country. Please God, just give me one. Throw me a bone. Throw me a brand.
But here's my point. Brian is a perfect example of this as well. Okay, the why was what you looked at first. The why is what Brian looks at first. What are we going to do to make it so that the customer's experience in dealing with us is better than anything else? Okay.
And it's also self-preservation with Brian. If you talk to him, he says, hey, 6,000 car dealers went away last year, independent and new. And he said, for us to survive, we got to do it frictionless. We got to do it the customer way. And so he has built a movement, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. The movement comes first. It's not the gross on every single car, because you can't get the gross on the deal if you don't get the deal. You can't get the deal if you don't provide value, and you don't provide, and the value now comes in the experience.
Yes.
Okay. Gary would never be able to get $100,000 or whatever he gets now. I know it's 6 digits for a keynote if he didn't provide the value first. Okay. Like right now, in the place that I'm in, I love when people say to me, and this is going to sound crazy, I love when people say to me, Frank, I don't know what you do, but I know you. Great.
I actually hear that a lot nowadays.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah, and you know what, and that's fantastic, because let's use one of Grant's lines, right? I can't flow you if I don't know you, right? So,
Cardone.
Right? So, but look, he's 100% right. Okay, right. You don't get the chance to actually sell anything to anybody or monetize them or monetize that relationship if you don't have the friggin' relationship to begin with. The way that you're going to create relationships that actually last long term right now is you need the introduction. So you need the introduction either from a referral from a friend, or, hey, you got to meet my friend Frank, he's really cool, or this thing.
Yeah.
Or you build it on social. You build up a reputation that has to be you. It's got to be genuine. And that reputation has to be that I'm here to help you. I want to help you. Whatever you need, I'll make money one day down the road. That's not a question, right?
You know, and I have to call out somebody, because this is podcast too, so I can't do a whole bit Facebook Live, but I see our good friend Ken Walls on there, and that's like him. And so Ken, just so you know, we were talking about you before the show.
All good.
I'm like, I can call him day or night, and he, picks up the phone. What do you need? He's like, Lisa, what's wrong? Because he knows that my microphone's not working or something. It's technical.
And then you see, and then one day, who knows when, maybe today, tomorrow, maybe never, right? But more than likely, one day, something will come up and you will say, hey, you know what you got to do? You got to call Ken. Ken will help you with that. Right?
Yes.
Ken can do that. And then that can turn into a relationship for Ken that monetarily could be huge.
Right.
Yeah, but it's all because he helped you with your friggin' microphone today.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's all about, the life cycle and, be somebody who serves. So, we have about 10 minutes left. So I want you, because you are truly, like, you helped build one of the original self-brand, cult brand movements, which was Gary V. So for people watching this out there, so we have people watch my show from insurance, real estate, mortgages, banking, financial services, lots of automotive, love my auto peeps. And they're thinking, I want to be Gary V or Grant when I grow up. What would be the first 3 things that you would tell them to start implementing tomorrow? Because I think you and I both agree on the fact that to be wildly successful, you have to build a personal brand. And then from your personal brand, people trust you to buy your products.
Right. Absolutely. So 3 things. And I actually just wrote them down too.
You are so getting an A+ for best guest ever. Most of they're like, well, let me think about it for a minute, but you're all prepared. I love it.
Yeah, I'm prepared. So number 1, you got to actually decide if that's what you want to do or not. Okay. Because it sounds great.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of freaking work. Okay. And it's a lot of real work. Okay. Like I'm talking about like real labor work that you've got to do.
I'm up at 4 a.m. writing content and preparing, and doing content calendars now and all the stuff I'm doing for all the projects I'm on. And like, if people think like, oh, you just get to show up and put your lipstick on, I'm like, no. It takes 10 hours a day to produce what all we're producing now for all the events and stuff.
Exactly. And you still got to pay bills. So you still got to make money. So you still have other things that are going on.
Exactly.
If you're going to go into this, you got to know that it is going to be hard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But like anything else in life, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you want to be the best at what you're doing, you have to work. Like, it's going to be hard. You can talk to the best real estate agent in the world, the
Right.
best mortgage agent in the world, the best stockbroker, the best doctors, right? Doesn't matter what it is. You're going to talk to them, and every single one of them is going to say the same thing. It's hard. You got to bust your ass, and and it's going to be a lot of work. So you have to decide that you want that, number one. Number two, you absolutely have to find and pick your lane. You're not going to be able to be everything to everybody right out of the gate. You're not. So you're going to have to find the spot. And some people, it's very, very easy. Some it's not, right? But you're going to have to find the spot where you have the most knowledge, the most wisdom, where you have the most benefit that you can share with other people.
Yeah, you have to bring value, not just get on Facebook and say, I'm so great, I'm so kick-ass, look at me, blah, blah. I mean, I click those people off so fast. I'm like, bye, out of here.
That's spam thumb. That's going to affect spam thumb. It's going to make it even worse, right? So, you have to really just figure out what it is that you have to give, and you have to give it unconditionally. It's the same thing like a relationship, right? You've got to love your spouse unconditionally. You've got to give yourself, give of yourself and everything. And then you'll get, if you're in the right relationship, you'll get back in spades, without a doubt, And number three, you've got to be genuine. Like, you really have to be genuine about it, because if you're not, and all you're looking to do, if your underlying motive or your agenda is not pure, and you just want to monetize everybody, that's going to come out, and it's going to come out really, really fast. You're not going to be able to hide it.
Okay, so I want to ask you about that, because I want your explanation of pure motives. Like, when I left, immediately when I sold my store 2 years ago, I wrote a book called Crushing Mediocrity. And, and people have said, oh, you must want to be a celebrity. I'm like, no, I want to be a thought leader. I want to be somebody that I'm well studied, and that when people come to me and they're like, hey, here's what's going on in my business, because I'm a consultant. And Lisa, tell us what to do, because I like sitting at the 10,000 foot view, looking down and solving problems, versus living in the problem, which I did for 6 years. And so, that's what I like. And so I think there's a huge difference. And I'm glad you said that. Like, Frank, I would call you a thought leader. Like, people can come to you. I mean, I came to you before the show and I said, hey, I got a deal for you, whatever, And because I know you're a thought leader. Now, do you have a celebrity status to you? Sure. Everybody knows you. I mean, you were the MC for Digital Dealer. I know you are every year, and everybody knew you on stage, and you're moving the speakers, and you're keeping the event moving forward, that celebrity personality. But so there's that. And so, like, someone said to me, what do you do, Lisa? Well, my persona is I'm a thought leader. My business is I'm a consultant. I would say the same for you. But the people that are out there, and it's some of it is just like, the selfies, and it's just like, look at me, because and it's like, man, like, don't you think to propel yourself, because we all have to propel ourselves to that, to be considered a thought leader, don't you think that there needs to be some success behind it at some level?
Well, yeah, you can't go and tell people how to do something if you've never done it yourself.
But aren't there a lot of people out there in the world doing it right now? And I'm not picking on them. Like, I'm saying every vertical of the world.
And that's where the purity part comes out.
Right.
That's where it comes out. Because if you don't know what the hell you're talking about, that's good. You can only know it. That fake it till you make it's got an end.
Right. There's only so many of these you can do. Right?
Yeah, exactly. You can only do this, like,
so many times.
So many times before somebody's like, okay, you know how to hold up the phone straight, and you know how to put your thumb up and wink. Okay, what does that do for me?
Yeah. It doesn't make me money or add value to my life. And that's why I just want to encourage people who are out there trying to build a movement and build a brand. Now, the people we spoke about, 100% rock stars. I mean, to me, they are building a brand. They're building a movement. They're building a really great future for themselves. And I think it's well-deserved, because they bring so much value. I don't know if you saw my show the other day, but I had Jim Ziegler on. And so I'll say this because I love him. Before the show, I'm like, Jim, there's some things we can't talk about on my show. Just saying. Try to be nice, because he is alpha dog and you're not, and we all respect that.
Absolutely.
And but I love what he said at the end. It will stick with me the rest of my life. And very seldom do I get a profound thing like that. And he was saying about how he'd gone through some tough times, 08, 09, when everyone did in the auto industry.
Yeah.
And he was hundreds and thousands of dollars in debt. And he said, but you know what, Lisa, there's nothing, if you're good, There's nothing you can't sell your way out of. I mean, I've listened to this day and night for 2 days. I've been sending it to people I know that are discouraged. Like, so, and he's an amazing trainer and leadership trainer and for management and things like that. And so there's nothing that we can't sell our way out of. Like, see, to me, that's a thought leader. Ziegler is a thought leader, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
And he's famous and he is the man. And, you know, and I hope he's watching because he will tell you too, mwah, mwah, I love you. But, you know, that one thing that he said took me back. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. It doesn't matter what happens to a salesperson. You know, if you're down, you lose this, you lose that, but you can sell your way out of it. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that is a thought leader. That is somebody who adds value to other people's lives.
Marcus said something similar to that. Marcus Lemonis in an interview somewhere, I don't remember exactly, and my quote may be a little bit off, right? But I think somebody asked him, if everything were to fall apart, what would you do? And he said, I'd go back to the car business, because I know that if I put myself on the floor, that I would be able to make enough money to survive, support my family, you know, and everything, and I'd be able to build myself back up from there again. You know, I'm working on a show right now, a show anyways. And so one of the first shows we're filming is at a car dealership. So I'm going to be on the floor for a week selling cars. Ooh. And I'm like, I am so freaking excited about it. I can hardly see straight. Like, I was a damn good car salesman and I could sell those Fiats, but I sold Chevys back in the 80s and I beat all those boys. And I love to sell cars. And that's me. Like, if something, so like I said, we're filming in other verticals and other businesses, but I'm like, I want the car sales one to go out first. I want it to be on TV first, but I want to be in that one first because, man, I can sell some cars. I have told countless trainers, okay, when the conversation has come up, like, Frank, what can I do to get myself, I can't get enough traction. I can't do this. I can't do that. I say, you know what? I gave this advice to a couple people. Go and work in a car dealership for a week yourself and document the whole thing. Hey, you want to do this? Yeah. Okay, great. Do
it after you got a signature on a buyer's order.
Yeah. Turn the shit on and leave it on for a week. You know what I mean? And let's, and show everybody that you're in the trenches, because then you'll see your credibility level will just go like this.
Or you'll get a self of your own reality. And you're like, maybe I need to be listening to some of these thought leaders out there and not try to be the big kahuna. Okay. So Frank, well, a couple things I want to ask you. I am going to go a little bit over on time. They'll just have to get over it because I'm so fascinated with this, because what you do is about, I'm going to have to interview you for my book now, because that's what the art of the big sell, build a movement, build an empire, stop selling, start mobilizing, blah, blah, blah.
All right, let's do it.
Like a walking commercial, but I'm a car salesman. I can't help it. But that being said, what are your goals in the next 3 years?
That's a really good question.
What are you going to be when you grow up?
What am I going to be when I grow up? Okay, so you're going to laugh. Okay, you're going to laugh at this, and I'm going to be the first one to say that, I have company that I'm running. I have clients I take care of. Okay, some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff that you see on my social is scheduled, because I'm sitting with you right now. I'm not over here going like this.
Right. Yeah, mine is too. Buffer.com, y'all. It's the best.
But Buffer's great. I use Social Pilot, whole sides thing. At night, every night at 9 o'clock, I post a question that I put out there. Some of it is to get people to laugh at the end of a busy day, right? But a lot of times it's to get them to think. Right? Because I want them to because right before you go to sleep, whatever it is that you're thinking about, usually you hold on to during the night. Right. Right. And then it winds up into, in your subconscious and whatnot. My question tonight, what do you want when you were a kid? What do you want to be when you grow up? 9 o'clock. It's all. I wish I could show you. I wish I could show you on a screen share that it is. I don't think I ever
said a car salesman, and neither did my parents. But that's what happened.
And I didn't. And growing up in a car dealership, I did not say that until I was about 12 or 13.
That you wanted to be a car salesman?
That I wanted to be a car salesman. Look, I had a very dysfunctional childhood because I grew up in a car dealership. right? Right? Obviously, that's a joke. That is a joke, obviously. I had a great childhood. My parents were fantastic, but my father worked for the same car dealership for 34 years, right?
Wow.
He was a prep mechanic. And I'll tell the story really quick. When I was 11, my mother didn't know what in the world to do with me anymore if during summer vacation and days off of school and whatnot, right? So this is, so my father says, I'll take him to work with me, right? So this is like in the mid 80s. You could do shit like that back then, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now you can't do that kind of stuff. So 11 years old, I start, I'm in sixth grade. 11 years old, I start going to work every single day during the summer. If there was no school, Christmas vacation, Easter vacation, whatever, I went to work with him. And I think I fought it for the first like 2 days. And then after that, it was like, oh, wow, this is cool. This is
fun at the car dealership. They cuss, they smoke.
Yeah, this is like grown up. This is great. Wow. A salesman gave me $1 tip because I took out his garbage. Wow. Fantastic.
Like, here, kid, go.
Yeah, I had a whole, at like 13 or 14 years old, I had a whole side hustle going on in the store off of tips for running for the salespeople to go get cigarettes or run across and there was like no lie, there was a 6-lane highway in between the store and like the McDonald's and the donut shop and the coffee place and the convenience store, right? So I had a whole side hustle going on of running back and forth across Route 18 all day for for salespeople for what they wanted and picking up $1 tip here, $2 there, $5 there.
Big money.
It was great. Hey,
when you're 12, money.
Yeah, when you're 12, 13 years old, you know how much $20 is?
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'd like to have a deal right now where someone just hands me a $20 bill just for running across the street. That'd be good. Oh, wait a minute. I'm actually the one who pays the $20 bill to have someone do my grocery shopping, and then you tip them. Thank you, Jesus, Instacart. Whoever invented Instacart rocks the world.
Now look, how beautiful is that, right? How beautiful is that anybody can use that as motivation. That's not fancy smancy shit right there, right? What that is that shows that like me, who used to run back and forth across Route 18 to get cups of coffee for people for $1, right? Yeah. That now it could send somebody to go get a coffee for me, right? How that role, it can
full circle,
whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. It could be reversed. If you're in the middle of the shit right now, you can pull yourself out. There's the quote. There's nothing that you can't sell yourself out of.
Oh, isn't it the greatest? I mean, seriously, I'm just going to be, and I always have to give Alpha Dog Ziegler, I always got to give him credit for it. Man, it's so good. Okay, I'm going to pull you back a second.
Yeah, pull me back.
What are you going to be in 3 years?
More successful than I am now, bigger than I am now, and I'm going to help more people at a scale or at a number that I can't even imagine today. Like where I'm going to be 3 years from now is in a place that I can't right now at 3:00 Eastern on the nose on Wednesday, April 18th. I cannot imagine how big that place is going to be.
Will it have a beach?
Because it's not in my scope right now. Like I can't imagine helping that many people at that type of a deep level, but that's where I'm going to wind up being.
Okay. And so I'm sure you'll have to do that through a digital platform of some sort, because that's the only way to scale.
That's how you scale, and that's culture, right? That's culture. Every year there's less and less and less attention being given to, television and radio and that type of stuff. And it's all being segmented through this box ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you another question. I'm going over, but I stay in trouble, so it's okay. Dealers are so afraid of their people building a personal brand. And, I met she's a protege. She's somebody I've mentored for a few years now, Amy Banner, hashtag just a girl selling cars. God, I love her. And, but she was up in Fargo, North Dakota. But, she started this personal brand and she got some pushback at the time. I'll leave it at that.
Sure.
And I know that a lot of people get pushback. It's one of the things I talked to Sean about when I was on his show. He's like, no, they love my brand because I sell cars. I'm like, yeah, I would love your brand too, bro. I would hire you in a hot minute. But so many old school dealers don't understand and they feel threatened by it. And don't you agree that that's where the industry is going? And I'm going to say one more thing before I make you answer that. I interviewed Ollie Rita for my first show. How
good is he? Like, how amazing is he?
He's the kindest, most humble person in the entire world. And He freaking works Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. He doesn't do social media really. Now I think he does because he's like, I would be all over it if I beat Joe Girard's. I'm the world's greatest car salesman. And so he does a little bit, but he didn't build his brand or his business by doing that, right? So, so there are different ways to the path to success. But let's just say for the average salesperson, whether it's real estate, insurance, cars, blah, blah, blah. Don't you agree that we as sales professionals cannot count on traditional media anymore? Ooh, I'm saying this to the ad guy, but you know what I mean. To build our business. And what would you say to the car dealers out here? And I see a few of them on right now that are watching this. What advice would you give them to settle their butts down about their rock stars, the Seans of the world, building a personal brand? Because they're afraid. I mean, we have dealers that will not send women to our conference because they said, oh, well, I'm afraid that, I've got these two hotshot females. And if I send them, someone else is going to try to hire them away, or I don't want them to have that kind of visibility because I'm threatened. And I'm like, dude, you're just going to sell more cars. Get over it. Right.
Yeah.
What is your advice to that nervous Nelly out there that is, because you and I both know this is where it's going, no matter what you're selling. And this is where it's going. So,
right. So two things. And once again, I wrote them down. Number one, you can't be afraid to lose somebody. You just can't. And if you're walking around afraid that you're going to lose, let's leave it in automotive. Okay. If you're afraid of the fact that you're going to lose your star salesperson, okay, then you've got something screwed up inside you. In your subconscious, you've got something screwed up. Because if it was that great, the person would not leave besides to evolve. And you're not going to beat evolution. You're just not, right? So the best thing that you could do if that scenario is going to occur, the best thing you could do is get behind the person and make it so that as that person evolves, as that salesperson evolves and goes out into the grown-up land, right? That they go out there becoming your disciple. Because they could probably sell you just as many cars as having, with the dealership being attached to that person being big in whatever it is that they do. Right? The same reason why Wine Library still has a line outside of it every single Saturday morning for people waiting for it to open up. And Gary hasn't sold a bottle of wine out of there, physically put a bottle of wine on the shelf or anything in years. Right. So it's the same thing. If you're afraid as a dealer, if you're afraid that you're going to lose somebody, you better do some self-awareness and look at your pay plan and look at your schedule. Right. And look at what you're putting this person through and make sure that it's beneficial for both ends, that you get to still sell the cars. Right. And at the same time that it's beneficial to him. Why does Ali work 9 to 5? Right. Because he gets to have a life.
He has a wonderful life. And
he has a beautiful life.
Sales record 5 days a week, working 40 hours a week.
Yeah, so don't feed me that bullshit, not you, but don't feed me that bullshit that somebody's got to work bell to bell every single day to be able to be the number one salesperson, right?
Right.
Ali does it, and he doesn't work, and he doesn't do that.
No.
But number one, but if you were to go, and I'm speaking for Ali, and I'm out of school, but if you were to go, and if his dealership was about to say, Ali, you got to work bell to bell every day, guy. Like this is the way it's going to be. He'll just take his number one ass and pick it up and go somewhere else.
Because his people are going to follow him. His customers, his tribe. I believe that they're doing business with him, and he happens to sell the cars at that dealership. But they're going to follow him anywhere. That would be my bet, especially after meeting that man. I adored him.
So that's number one. And number two, dealers, this is not an industry thing. Okay. This is not a car business type of thing. This is a culture thing. Everyone, any dealer that's watching right now, every one of you just either reach your hand over a little bit to either side of your desk, or if you have to, go like this. Right. And tell me what you pick up. It's going to be this thing.
Yep.
This is what's going to come out of your hand. This is what's right next to you. Yep. Don't tell me it's not. You're friggin' lying to me. Okay. Yep. It's right there. Okay. So stop fighting this thing within your own business and actually go and embrace it. And not only that, leverage it. Maybe
put your ego at the door. You already got your name on the sign out front. So you're good.
Exactly.
Let your people do business.
You got your name outside.
So you're
You got your
good.
license. You got your license plate that
Yeah,
says
your license plate's
dealer
driving
with
all
the
around
number
town.
one.
Yeah.
No, I mean like you got your dealer plate with the number one on it. Okay, you got all that shit that that you wanted. Okay,
Right.
you got
Quit
it all.
worrying about the way that your top performers are. I mean, what I wouldn't have, I actually had a couple of them over the years that did it. One of them, Amber Barnett, she's watching, she was the best. And I was like, you go girl, you go out there. She was beautiful. And she was a marketing machine on social media. And, she sold a lot of cars because of it. Thank you, God. That's less money I
Yeah.
had to put into advertising.
That's my point. If you're the dealer, who has the biggest gain in that?
Right.
The dealership has the biggest gain
But
because
Frank, you and I both know it has been a problem for many dealers whose names are on the signs that they can't share. They let me back up. They think they're sharing the spotlight, and what they can't realize is that person is building their long-term business. They should celebrate that person. They should have that person out to lunch once a week going, thank you so much for going above and beyond everybody else on that showroom floor to help you and I make a bunch of money.
They should celebrate that person.
Yep.
They should empower that person.
Yep.
They should support that person.
Yep.
It should be, what can I do for you today?
Can I buy you a new iPhone 10? Because I'm thinking those videos you're doing, they're a little fuzzy nowadays. So
yeah, I saw. Hey, my kid has this little thing that he puts over his phone and it makes it every clearer. Let me get one of those for you.
Yeah, or like me, the light that you can put on. It's like, oh, I look 10 years younger.
Or the light. But what, bottom line, whatever it is, empower these people, because when you don't do, guys and girls, when you don't do that, it's the equivalent of you going into the service department, okay, and grabbing every single tech's toolbox and wheeling it out and throwing their tools into the dumpster. You would never, ever think about, besides the fact that techs own their own tools, but you would never, ever think about going into the service department, right? Grabbing your guy's tools and throwing them in the garbage can, because then they can't work on the cars. Well, guess what? If you don't help your salespeople with things like this, to where they can build a brand to where people come in to see them, because you're going to get a certain amount of people that are going to come into the store because you sell Toyotas or Chevys or Hondas or Subarus or whatever. You're going to get, I mean, that's going to come. But everything that a Subaru Sam, I just made that up. Yeah. Like Subaru Sam brings in, dude, that's all gravy, right? So
free money.
It's free
money.
So if somebody comes in to see Subaru Sam has got to sell the car through the store. So empower Subaru Sam as much as you there's some guy right now, Sam, who works at a Subaru dealership, who is like SubaruSam.com.
Sam,
like
hashtag
Subaru Sam.
I own it.
So, but you guys get my point. Like I said, you would never go into the shop and throw away the tech's tools. So why in the world would you not go and empower these salespeople to be able to do what they got to do to bring in extra business, which trickles down.
But that involves building a personal brand. And hey, Mr. Car Dealer, that doesn't take away from your brand. Because I mean, I've heard this from dealers over the years. I've spent millions and 30 years building my brand. Why would I want their brand out there? Because that's the way business is done nowadays. Yeah. Guess what? Your name's still on the sign and you're still getting 75% of the bottom line. Get over it.
And guys, look, absolutely. Let's touch on this really quick. Okay. The whole automotive industry, the dealer part of the industry, I'm sorry, but it's true, is suffering and has been suffering from what I call the scumbag effect. Right. And it's the fact that years ago, right, the dealer industry was such scumbags to people, okay, that now it's stuck to the point of where, think about every single sitcom, think about every single movie. Right. Have you ever seen a car dealership portrayed in a positive way? No, it has never, ever happened.
And that makes me mad because we are good people.
Exactly. It's horrible, but the scumbag effect still exists. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's still there. When you talk to people, when you talk to customers about what part of buying a car is, gives you anxiety and everything, it's about dealing with the dealership, right? It's not about picking out the car. It's not about it isn't even about the money. Right? It's about going through the negotiation process in the dealership. Okay. Right. Why? Because the scumbag effect is there.
Because there's friction.
There's friction.
People don't like friction. Like, why am I going to go spend $40 or $50 or $60 or $100,000 just for you to create friction in my world, stress in my life, bounce me around, roll me around, insult me. Like, boo.
So if you can have Subaru Sam, who can come out there and say, "Hey, I'm going to make hey, I'm
We
Subaru
just made
Sam."
him famous, Frank. You know that, right?
This
Subaru
guy,
Sam, if you're out there,
this guy
got
owes
you, man.
us. This guy owes us like $20 a deal.
Big time.
So, but if you can create a Subaru Sam and he can, hey, I'm Subaru Sam over at ABC Subaru, right? If you can, if you can do that and Subaru Sam portrays the image and actually holds it up that I'm going to take away all that garbage with negotiating. I'm going to take away all that stress. I'm going to show you the best deal. I'm going to make sure that the car is right for you. I'm going to do all that stuff. And that trickles into your store. Why in the world would you not want to do it?
Okay, so I think we're going to have to cut it there. You are truly, I had no idea of your background with Gary Vee. Like, of course, I know you're out there, and people follow you and you've got, so how did the people watching our show, how do they connect with you? How do they find you?
Very easy. Any social, you could find me, #GetMoreFrank, right? Or just type my name in, Frank J Lopes. I will show up. You can also go, you can also go through the company. So you can go to fbdigital.net, and you can get in contact with me there. But honestly, the best way, pick this thing up, grab Google or go to Facebook, type in Get More Frank. I will show up. And seriously, just message me. That's it. Just message me. I answer them all myself. There's no filter on it. There's a whole bunch of them here down the bottom that haven't been answered yet today. So I'll reach out.
I'm going to tell you one thing to tell your boy, Gary Vee, and I'm now calling him out on social media. I got to show you something real quick. So 3 years ago, my co-author and I wrote the book, Crushing Mediocrity. See? You can go see when we registered it. So then my good friend, Sherry Matthews, and she's probably on here. She's a marketing guru. She's an inventor. And she says, Lisa, you have to go and you have to register the hashtags, Crushing It. This was over 2 years ago, because you could look in Twibs, Twubs, Dubs, or whatever it's called.
I know where you're going.
So anyways, Gary Vee, if you're out there watching it, you should call me because I own Crushing It. I'm just saying. And I wrote my book 2.5 years ago, Gary Vee. And I own Crushing It. And I've never really said that on social media, but you know the dude. Just saying.
Yeah.
Hashtag Crushing It is Lisa Copeland and Renee Bangelsdorf, not Gary Vee.
Next time I see him, I will be sure to bring that up. Okay. Yeah.
Twibs, Twubs, Dubs, whatever it is that you register your hashtags, because hashtags are important.
They are important.
Also tell Gary Vee it's for sale. Anything I have is for sale, with the exception of my 2 grandsons, because I'm obsessed with them. Frank, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your thought leadership. You and I'll have a conversation offline. You're amazing. And it's exactly it, right? The whole future of advertising, of marketing, and of building a successful business, whether you work for yourself or you work for someone else, is to build a movement. And it's to build your own movement. And it's to build your own brand and build legions of loyal followers and people that want to do business with you. So again, Frank, thank you. Amazing. God, I just love all my people. You guys are like the best.
I got to thank you, Lisa. Really, the pleasure's all mine. And everything that you've been doing, there's no way that the industry can, honestly, I'm not just fluffing you up here. There's no way that because I've said this to you before, there's no way the industry can applaud you enough. Really can't, because years ago you were making the strides for women in our business and girl power. And look, and with everything that's going on with the evolution of customer service and the evolution of the car business, God, we need women more than we ever have in the past, and we needed them from the beginning.
That's right. So, but you know what? And we sound like a love fest here, but but it's people like you that have supported our Women in Automotive conference from the beginning, and we actually call you guys the enlightened ones. And when I spoke at, we did a deal before the opening keynote that you did for Women in Automotive, and it was myself, Christy Roman, Nicole Ash, and Subi Ghosh. and half the room was men. And I'm like, y'all are either the ones that are enlightened or you're scared. Like you want to know what the hell we're talking about. They're like, no, Lisa, we support. We're the enlightened ones. And I'm like, good. But I'm enough of a lady that I will let you buy my wine tonight at the restaurant. So just know that. You can still open my doors and buy my dinner. But, when it's business, we're equal. So
whether they were there to be enlightened or because of the fact that they were scared, both of them are smart.
All the above. It just
both
works.
Are smart.
It all works. All right, my friend. Thank you. Continued success.
Same to you, honey. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.